Introduce yourself when you get the question. So, welcome to Ian from Greenview Residential Care. First question is...
Hello Ian, my name's Daria.
They don't know who I am yet.
I just said Ian.
You don't know what I've done though?
Go on.
What is your definition of customer service?
I haven't got a clue.
Go on, tell them who you are then,
yeah,
and what you do. Sorry. Thank you, Daria. That was excellent. Go on.
I have run a residential care home for 36 years. I started off at the age of 29. I used to work in marketing. I used to work in advertising. So that was my original background. I've set up, I ran local boys football teams, under 12s. I've done FA coaching courses. I set up in the village the first responder scheme, which is those people that need a first aid in the community. I've set up run the Dementia Action Group, so I've done a lot of voluntary work as well, in my spare time as well. So I'm also the honorary life president of the village care group, so I've done lots of things outside. That's a little bit of background. I know you're a tutor as well quite well because she lives near to me. So that's a little bit of background on me. So now you can ask me a question.
What is your definition of customer service?
Did you say that just now? That's good. That's the same question then. Okay, that's right. Okay, my definition of customer service is being the best you possibly can, excelling in everything you possibly do better than any of your competition. You want to be making sure that you are the head of the tree.
Can you slow down a little bit?
No. Right faster.
Okay. What has he just said? Somebody repeat back. Excelling in competition. Being the best you can. Being the best you can. Excelling within the competition. What do you say, Milad?
Same, sir.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
The tree, yeah.
if you all went to work for the Sony Corporation, you went to work for Apple, you went to work for Mercedes, you would be telling everybody, I work for the best company that makes cars, the best company. So you have a lot of pride in what you do. And so if you can give your staff that pride in the fact that they work for the best company in the area, doing the best job that they possibly can, it's a great way of actually staff feeling good about who and where they're employed. Any good?
So, obviously, he said a lot there. Your job is to write a few things down to jot your memory, but when you come back to it, you can pause it. So you can get all of the detail down that he's just said about being, giving a sense of pride to your employees and things like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who's the next one, please?
Number 2. Question 2. Hi.
How do you know if...
My name is...
No, it's not that one. It's got to be the one on the board. Oh, does it have to go in order?
I was good. Yeah, on the board.
Oh, that one, I don't have that.
I don't have that.
Just edit that out of the video.
You've got to say it.
Oh, I found it.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, my name's Owen.
Hi, Owen.
What are the customer service roles in your business and why is teamwork important?
Customer roles in the business. Every single person with regard to being involved in the business is engaged in making the business grow, making the business expand, and retaining and maintaining its standards as to where it is. So when it comes to roles, there are various roles that the person may undertake because of legislation, because of the way in which it's structured, so that people know where to go. We have a registered manager. I'm the owner. We have a registered manager. She is responsible for the entire running of the home.
Who's that?
Editha Cruz. She has a deputy manager, Amber Payne, and they share the role of running the management structure. If there is any difficulty or dispute, they would come to me. So in the order of anything, it goes back to them. And then you have carers that would actually undertake the main role of looking after the people that stay in the home. We also employ carers assistants. So one of the things that we try and do is mentoring younger people to come through so that they can actually start off at 14, 15 years of age and maybe move forward and become carers. So we call them carers assistants, so they assist the carers. It's a great way of getting people to go on and become, if they're interested in the health service, they can become doctors, nurses. We have one lady who's quite proud of at the moment. She's head of oncology at the oncology pharmacy at St George's Hospital in London. Do you know what oncology is?
No.
Yeah, cancer. And she's the head of the pharmacy department. So a really big responsibility to have all that knowledge and skill. And she started off at the tender age of 15 with me, and progressed through. And last year, I actually went to her wedding, so that was quite a thrill. We have 3 guys that have become doctors and have gone through, which is a big thrill for us as well. And again, it adds to the reputation of the home. So with regard to the structure, that's all the structuring of the home. It's good? Did that help?
So just a quick, I'll look at the board here in a minute. So you're,
I'm at the top.
you call yourself managing director
Yeah. Mandara.
and owner,
Big boss.
Big boss.
big boss. And then you've got a
A residential, a registered manager, sorry. The reason for that is that CQC found that a lot of these businesses, with regard to care, they structure themselves in such a way that the owners are never there, or there's too many of them and they're always somewhere else. So whenever they wanted to come and do an inspection, they couldn't get to the person that was responsible. So then they made every single care home have a responsible person, a registered manager, and they have to have certain qualifications to run the home. And so it's better to have a registered manager running the home than me if I'm not there and somebody turns up. So that's why every single care home has a registered manager and somebody on duty that could deal with anything that came up.
so we've got you, registered manager, deputy registered manager, and then we've got carers and carers assistants.
Yeah, people talk to them about being senior carers and carers. If you have a large home, you might structure it in such a way that you have carers working underneath the senior, reporting back to a deputy or a manager.
Okay, and who else did you say?
We do mentoring for carers assistants, people from the age of 14, 15. And we get them, especially if they go on to university and they go and study, they want to come back, they want to earn some money. So during the holiday periods, they'll come and work for me. And as a result of that, they get paid, which is what they want, some money to go back to university with.
Have I just got that right? So,
Yep.
and then you've got, how many carers have you got?
Oh, it depends. There's 20 members of staff in total.
Okay.
So about 18 carers. So we have night staff as well, and they're 12 carers. Yeah.
They all don't have an assistant.
No, just care assistants. Only about 2. I think there's 4 at maximum at the moment. 2 boys that come on the weekend and 2 girls.
And you just call them maintenance staff?
No, carers assistants.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
And you've got your maintenance staff?
Yeah, 2 boys.
And they're part-time?
Yeah, weekend. And they learn work ethics. They learn how to get on with the job. I teach them things like maintenance and.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good.
Next.
Thank you, Owen. Next one. Oh, where are we? On here.
Rules and procedures. Who's next, please?
Are these questions?
Introduce yourself and just say the question, please.
Hi, my name is Eva. What rules and procedures do you have to follow and why are they important?
The Care Act is the biggest one, and that deals with every single aspect of looking after older people. We also have to follow things like food hygiene, which we recently got another 5, so that's good. Which is quite interesting because in Romsey there was a massive spate of, near where I live, of establishments being given 1 stars, which is quite incredible really. And so we're quite proud of the fact we got 5. In fact, would any of you go to a restaurant that had 4? I mean, I would be going, why have they only got a 4 and not a 5?
I know one has 0.
You want, really?
Really?
Serious?
Where's that?
It's not open now though, is it? A 0 must mean they're closed. So 1 you've got to do a bit better, well, a lot hell of a lot better. But anyway, so that's one aspect, the food. We have to apply with temperature controls, we have to comply with all those things, aspects of how to cater in catering and look after people, especially older people because they're more vulnerable.
Excuse me, Ian's come here for you, so I'm not, unless it's a question that you want to ask, please ask the question, put your hand up, but I don't expect people talking over him, because it means then that your table can't be writing the notes that you need to make for your assignment. It's really important, I want you to get a distinction, and you need to be writing it really well, okay? So, if you don't know what the Care Act is, or you didn't hear it because somebody was talking, you might need to be asking what it is to Ian. So the Care Act sets out rules and regulations that a business like Ian's has to comply with. and he's talking about,
Yeah, food hygiene and now. But if they got good questions, I don't mind answering.
yeah,
Especially if it's an all-girl table, women questions are quite good. So yeah, don't worry. Just ask me anything. That's good. Don't be frightened. So yeah, so any of the other things that we have is we have to comply with all the health and safety regulations. Moving and handling is very important, especially with human people. In moving them and handling them has to be done a certain way. So we have to comply with those things. We have to comply with quite a lot of training as well. There has to be mandatory training, which the CQC set up to say that we have to do.
CQC.
Care Quality Commission. You hear that they inspect anyone from dentists, hospitals. Recently, I think yesterday in the news, Queen Alexandra Hospital was given a good, which they've been given a requires improvement up to now. So, they inspect everything with regard to health.
Right. I know that Ian talks fast.
Do I?
Just jot whatever you can down. It is going to be videoed,
I can't
so you
talk
can
slow.
review it. So the important thing is, if you want to make notes, you can, but just listen. I know he's going fast, but listen. That's
Just
the
write every
most
third
important
word
thing.
down, that's it. Ignore most
The
of it.
key points there was the Care Act
Yeah,
and the Care Quality Commission,
regulatory body. Food hygiene,
food hygiene.
manual handling, health and safety. They're the main regulations, really.
Yeah.
First aid, we probably do a little bit of first aid training as well, because in the event of somebody having a problem, we can deal with it.
So there's quite a few things there. Go on.
Care Act, Care Quality Commission, what else?
Food hygiene,
Food hygiene.
health and safety, which includes first aid, manual handling.
So, Nasser, why is it important for a business to have a good food hygiene rating? And what else?
Safe.
Better reputation.
Good reputation, but why are you saying safer?
Bless you, you haven't been to China, have you?
So that
Because they deal with older people.
Elderly people?
Yeah.
And what could happen if they get poorly? Yeah. Could die.
Yeah, we don't lose customers, we want to keep the
We are
customers.
being videoed.
We want to keep the customers in. You know, you've got to look after them, you've got to feed them. Also, why is food important to older people? Why do you think food is important?
Amrit, why is food important for older people necessarily?
because they need specific nutrition.
Say it again, you didn't hear.
Say again.
Because they need specific nutrition with their diet.
So why is nutrition any good?
Because if they don't eat the right things,
So you don't die.
then they'll be
Yeah.
weaker and stuff.
Basically, I mean, it's like turning around and saying you put rubbish fuel in the car, it doesn't go very well. So similarly, if you put rubbish fuel into a human, it doesn't move very well either. So you have to know an awful lot. We have an amazing number now of people are vegetarians, vegans, gluten-free. Gluten-free is the biggest. Anyone here gluten-free?
No,
Oh, it's just me then.
Why not?
Oh, they're a real pain. Anyway, yeah, what's next?
Okay. Next one, please. Who's got the next little ticket, please?
Next ticket. Who's next?
I'm Daniel. So, what skills and knowledge do staff have to help customers?
Yeah, yeah. Again, I went back to the Care Act. When we talked about the fuel that we put into them as well, with the food, and we talked about getting to know, one of the things you need to know is understanding about the person's disease or illness that they may be having, something about them that may actually benefit them, helping them in a way. So there's a huge amount of knowledge and knowledge base that is needed in terms of understanding their condition. We all talk about needs. In fact, in every single business that you'll ever come across, I would say the biggest thing you have to understand is needs. Unless you can find out what the needs are, you can't meet the needs, and therefore you can't give the person what they want in order for you to charge them something to get some money back in order to make a profit. So it's quite simply, we have to find out what their needs are. Once you find out what the needs are, understanding the needs, using our knowledge and skill to meet the needs, and then as a result of that, they remain well, they remain happy, the family remains happy, they tell everybody else how good we are, and over a period of time, 36 years of doing this, hopefully we are now the Rolls Royce, the Mercedes, the Apple of Romsey. So that's hopefully where we be. It's good. We also, one of the things the other thing I made a note of we do as well, we also try and be very personable. If you came in and said, I'd like to come and stay in your home, and you went into a room and it was bubblegum pink, you might think, I have to stay in this room? This is what you're offering me? So we will redecorate the room to the colour that your relative thinks, or they would prefer. So if they prefer a certain colour, then we'll redecorate the room before they come in. So the room is their colour, yeah. Yeah, we've done that many times, yeah.
Can't you just keep it white?
No, we have done that many times. We actually, the worst one I ever did was I had to paint one bubblegum pink. And I'm not kidding you, when you're putting this on the wall, your eyes just think, are you sure about this? But it was the most beautiful room when it was finished. The family member decorated it all themselves, put all the trinkets in, pictures in, all the little items that made it personable. And the room looked really fantastic. And there is a picture on our Facebook page there somewhere. But go on.
Can't you just keep it white? The room.
Yeah, you can keep it white. Have you ever been to a hospital?
I'm a healthy person.
Did you enjoy staying there?
I'm healthy. I've never been to hospital.
It's a place you want to live. What's the colour of your room in your house?
White.
That's brilliant. Lovely. Good man. You're a clean living person.
Don't you think it's nice though to personalise that for somebody that's coming to stay?
I like it clean.
No, yeah, well you could have a white room.
Yeah, you could have a white room, you know. It's no problem when you're old. Look him up. He might still be alive.
That's right, yeah. What do you mean it might still be alive? What does that mean?
When he's old enough to be in your home.
Am I going to die? You never told me this.
Next one, please.
Next
Thank
one.
you. Who's got this one?
Okay,
Go
we're
on.
on.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Hannah.
Right, Hannah.
Internal customers.
Yeah, that's a really funny question. I always find this really weird. Who are my internal customers? I mean, I sort of think to myself, what have I digested this morning? And who are my internal customers? I guess my internal customers are those guys that come into my home and join in with everything that we do in a way that they're not actually paid for by me. So my internal customers, I would see, although my staff, they would be one of my foremost internal customers. If they're happy, then they'll go out and tell everyone they're happy. One of the funny things that we do have a postman that's been coming to us for well over 10 years. And we've worked out that he costs me about 12 full cakes per year, which we make. Because he comes in and he opens up the cupboard where the cakes are, he takes the cake tin out, he takes the piece of cake out and makes himself a cup of tea and a piece of cake. Now you think, the staff that see this for the first time are like going, who is this, what is this man doing? Why is he allowed to open up the tin and take himself a piece of cake, make himself a cup of tea?
He's a postman.
He's a postman. He shouldn't be doing that. But he sees every single person in my village. He sees every single person in his round. And if somebody says to him, I'm looking for a care home, he's going to be saying, well, I know this is a good care home, it's a great place to go. So, if he feels that way. So, hopefully he becomes an internal customer. Everyone that comes in is always offered a drink and something to eat if they need it in the home. So if they're visitors, relatives, all the relatives will be also doing the same thing in terms of saying this is a good place because my mother stayed there, hopefully. So we're going to get a lot of repeat business from those. At the moment, we have 7 people staying in my home, and 5 of them are all people that we knew before, or were known to us.
Are we talking about external customers now?
Oh, sorry, I've moved on. Sorry. What I meant to say is they came as a result of relatives knowing us because of their contact with us before over 36 years.
Yeah.
So my internal customers became my external customers.
Right.
So,
I see, yeah.
Yeah, which is good.
Okay, who's got this one? Go on.
Hi, my name's
Abdul.
Abdul, hi Abdul.
Who are your external customers?
Oh gosh, we're going outside now. My external customers, right. Doctors, district nurses, I would put them into that frame, I would put them into that bracket of saying they know of me, but may not necessarily have experienced what we do. We also have people that make inquiries when they may come to. We have a garden party every year. We've had about 33 garden parties. Lockley Silver Band comes. We have a free cream tea, Lockley Silver Band, and we give them free drinks, free refreshments. So as a result of that, they get a chance to have a free nose around the building without being tied to it and say you've got to be shown round. Somebody needs to see it. So they're external customers that just happen to call in on the day of our special garden party. We have a massive Halloween. We are brilliant at Halloween. We do our best to scare the kids. The kids don't come and scare us. I've hidden in ditches outside and jumped out on kids. I've jumped out and
He dressed all in black, dug a hole. We went bing bong on the door, and he jumped out behind us.
Like a ninja, yeah?
Yeah, like a ninja. He did. He was.
So yeah, we have a 7-foot skeleton. We've had members of staff standing perfectly still and they're jumping out on people.
He dug graves.
Yeah, we've had graves all the way down the driveway. We've had one of the best ones was we had some children who came early, and I said to them, go and hide under the table. I'll go and creep out with this spider that's sort of on my hand and sort of go towards them and from the curtains, which was pretty pathetic. But then I told the kids to grab the ankles of the people standing in front of the table. So that was really successful. They jumped, every one of them. So that was good. So we try and scare the kids. It almost backfired on me on one occasion where, you know, when somebody's muscle spasms, and they literally did jump. So I jumped out on this little kid, and she really did jump spontaneously and was really scared. And I thought I'd blown it, so I took the mask off, which was pretty horrific. And I said, it's really hot under there. But the amazing thing was, her mum actually came and become a member of staff. And the child always told everyone that her mum worked in the haunted house. So that's quite a good story.
So in terms of external customer, everybody that you come across?
Everyone, every single person that ever comes across us in any particular way. One of the things that, when I used to work in marketing, is sell, sell, sell. You just never stop selling. You just never stop selling yourself. Every opportunity you've got to promote yourself and place yourself in front of people that may want to use your services, or may get a question asked, do you know anyone that's doing this? And they say, oh yeah, I know this person. And go and ask for him. So they come and ask for me, and away we go.
So likewise, if you've got relatives, elderly relatives that need some care, and you want a good place, you know about Ian now, and his nursing home. Residential care home, sorry. Go on, Milas.
What happens in a different city or country?
That's right.
Ship him in. Doesn't matter, does it?
We've got many staff from different countries now, so I mean, having a resident from a different country wouldn't make much difference. We have a German lady now who comes and stays with us, so she's great at Christmas singing Silent Night, so it's quite good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Did you want to ask a question?
Any more?
Faisal.
No, it's cool.
Who's
Good morning, my name is Dominic. How does the business handle complaints?
Yeah, good question, Dominic. Yeah, how do we handle? We try. I mean, I think the best way to handle complaints is not to have any. So if you don't have any complaints in the first place, because everyone's happy and everything's going well, you don't end up with that situation where you have to deal with a complaint. The other thing is we operate a very open system where anybody can come in and walk into the home at any time. So anybody can just come, and they don't have to knock on the door and come in.
It's not really safe then.
Pardon?
It's not safe.
Safe.
Well, they will be if they have to be known to us, obviously, but not in terms of they can't just walk in. If family members are known to us, they can come in.
Okay.
There is a security thing on the front door as well. They have to sign in for fire eggs, yeah, so there is that. But generally speaking, we have no times where you can only visit during certain times. It's an open house. By being open and the family members can interact. We had a lady that was recently on end-of-life care. Do you know what that means? Does that mean pretty obvious?
She's about to die.
Huh?
She's about to die.
Yeah. She took well over 18 months before it had actually occurred. And the family members were in every single day. Sometimes 2 or 3 of them. And they ate with us, they joined in with us. So over that period of time, they got to know us extremely well. So if there was ever any problems or anything coming up, they would have seen it and they would have said something if they needed to say something.
So how does the business handle complaints?
Well, the first what I'm trying to say at this point, try not to have any. So the idea is that if you keep everybody happy and contented and you run an open process, they're not going to see any problems because there shouldn't be any problems. There's only problems when you try and hide things or try and do things in a deviant way.
Have you ever had a complaint?
Yeah. What we
How
try
do you handle it?
I just ignored it. I said, "Oh, can't have a complaint." Generally speaking, complaints often are requests for more information. You firstly, whenever you get a complaint, you have to find out whether that's the real complaint, because the person may not actually be having that as the real complaint. They may be unhappy about something else. When you're dealing with family members, they can become very, very protective about their relatives. And maybe they're just feeling very sad that the person is dying. And they're very sad that the person is not the person they knew before. So if you can help explain to them what they may be going through, and we try and do that with a lot of the people, so that they're not they're not frightened about what may occur. We try and preempt things as well. We had a lady recently who has been going through some quite difficult times, and we had to speak to the family member just to inform them what was happening, and the family member became quite hostile about what we were doing. But we said, this is our plan, this is our procedure, this is what we'll do, and we'll follow this through before we have to think of something else. So that's what we've done. The person's problem has gone away, and the family member has never mentioned it since. So what we did is we tried to preempt a complaint that may have occurred if we'd allow things to continue. So it's always a good way. If you're on the ball, you should know what's coming up. If there is any specific complaint, we do a questionnaire every year, and we ask them in that questionnaire if there's anything they can have. And often the things that come in the questionnaire are often things that we're about to do anyway. Like we're going to replace the carpets, we're going to replace various things like that. So minor little things come up, and it's already in the plan anyway. So hopefully, if you're on top of your business, you should try and avoid complaints. But they all know how to deal with a complaint. The first thing you do is you reiterate the complaint, find out what it is, you go over it again, and then having done that, you set up a meeting and you get them to open up and tell them exactly what you think, and then you try and meet their needs to overcome the complaint. And usually we do. In 36 years, I mean, we wouldn't be here if we had hundreds of complaints.
Thank you. Next one, please.
Casey, what the customers expect from customer service?
What a customer, oh gosh, here we go. So I've got a great big list on this one. High expectations. I've mentioned the Halloween, I've mentioned Lockley Silver Band Garden Party. Feedback is often given, regularly informed and formally. So we'll do that through newsletters. I've got copies of newsletters, I've got copies of things which we're sending out. Regularly setting the bar very high, exceeding expectations, a better likelihood that the customers will pass them on, satisfaction. If you all go out to a restaurant and you have a meal, and that meal's really bad, you'll tell 100 people they're bad. If you go out and you have a great meal, you probably tell 10. So the idea is to try and big up the good side. At present, the customer, I think we just generally try to overcome perceived problems, showing knowledge and understanding, willingness to put the customer first. Relatives, at this time, yeah. So I would say at this particular moment in time, our customer expectation, usually they don't quite know what is going to happen with their relative. When we go out and do an assessment, every single person has to be assessed by us, by going and doing an individual visit. And then we do that thing about finding out what their needs are. Most people don't have understanding and needs about what happens when people get old, especially in the field of dementia. So when people tell us, we're having all these problems with my mother, we're having really difficulties, we really can't cope. So we write down what the needs are, and what they can't cope with is what we cope with every day. So to us, that's just ordinarily the same thing that we can manage and deal with. So as a result of that, and putting them in an environment where they're understood, putting them in an environment where we can meet their needs and they don't feel challenged. We had a lady who had come into us and was extremely challenging at home. And she is the sweetest, nicest, but we were told she wouldn't join in with anything. She would not want to meet other people. She's completely the opposite. She's meeting and greeting everybody. She's joining in with absolutely everything we're doing. She smiles an awful lot. She was lonely, I think, at home. She was living on her own in isolation. She was constantly in her own thoughts. Her life was horrible. Now she's in other people's thoughts. She's joining in with other people. All her food's made for her. All her washing, cleaning, tidying is done for her. She's just living and enjoying the life. So she's transformed amazingly in a very short space of time, which is really good. Good?
Who's got this one, please? Right, introduce yourself.
You have to say that again, I didn't hear that.
My name is Nazir.
Nazir, hi Nazir.
What information does the business collect from customers?
Say that again?
What information does the business collect from customers?
Well, I think I may have covered that already, just in that previous one. The fact that we go out, when anybody makes an inquiry, it is a requirement by law, if you want to go back to that law print, which I probably should have said earlier, that we have to go and do an assessment. We have to go and see what the person's needs are. We are then required by law to turn around and say whether or not we can actually meet that person's needs. And if we've agreed to meet that person's needs, we may have to staff up to meet that need. We can't just turn around and say, yeah, you can come and stay with us and just carry on. You are required to actually say, well, that person has specialist needs like their vegan diet. The person may have specialist needs at a certain time of the day. They have to be given insulin. If they have medical requirements, if they have physical requirements, maybe they've got a limb that needs to be attached, or they've got a driver that needs to be put in, we have to make sure that we can meet that need. And if that means an extra member of staff, we are required to say, yes, I can do that, providing I engage somebody else to do that for me. So we get a lot of information from residents, relatives, to build up a picture of what that person may be like. One of the hardest things for us is to get them to write what we call a timeline of what is happening in that person's life. Often we find out more about the person when they die than we knew about them when they're alive, which is awfully sad, but that appears to be the case. Whenever you try and get information about what the person did, what they were responsible for in their life, there are massive gaps, if any. The other thing always to bear in mind is the fact that not everybody has a positive relationship with their family and with their parents. That particular parent member may not have been the loving, kind, caring parent that you would want, and therefore the family member's information they give you may not be complete. We've often had family members, well, we've had on an occasion a family member giving information about the person that was minimising the problems that we were going to have. So when the person came to stay with us, they were much, much worse in many areas, because the person was embarrassed to turn around and say the things about the person, which would have meant that we'd have looked at it in a different way. But because we didn't know, we couldn't actually deal with it in the right way. And we may well have said at the outset, no, we won't take this person because of these problems. I'll give you one example. He was a 93-year-old guy, and he got on to the train because the family lived near Winchester, and the family member said that the police had brought him back from the station. But what she missed out was the fact that it was Waterloo Station. It wasn't Winchester Station. So when you have that lacking of information, we were told that when he patted the child, his grandchild, on the head, well, he didn't pat the child on the head, he gave him a whack that sent him halfway across the room. And he saw his daughter as his wife. So there were things that if you'd have known, those are the things you'd have. You'd have been forewarned, and the information you gave me would have given you a better picture to look after that person better. So it was a very, very poor experience for him and for us. And you never want to put your staff into a situation where they can't cope. Because if they can't cope, they'll just walk out the door and they'll go somewhere else. So you want staff retention to be kept.
I think that also covers that.
Does it?
I think it also covers why do you gather information on your customers. You've covered that very well. Okay. So whoever's got that ticket has pretty much had their question answered, I think, on that one.
You don't have to ask the question, that's good.
In terms of how, is it a form that you have to fill out?
Yeah.
Is it an online form or
No.
a paper-based form?
No, it's one that we've designed so that it understands what we do and what we can do. So we fill it out in a way that gives us the information that we need. Also, if you go into a room and you're talking to somebody, you don't often have to write down all the information because he's looking at you and he's coming back at you. Like, can the person hear? Can the person speak? Can the person eat, drink? You don't have to write all those things down. But those are information that you may need in order to build up a picture of what the person... Can they get up and walk on their own? Well, they may get up during the time you're there. You don't need to ask those questions like a regimented question. You want to keep it like a conversation so that the person feels relaxed, and they'll tell you more if they're relaxed than if they feel threatened. We also go and do it in their home so that we are the ones that feel threatened because they're in their environment that they're safe in and feel happy in. So
yeah. So you get a truer picture.
yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
We still invite them to come and stay and look around us as well.
Okay, this next question please, who's got this one?
How far are we now?
We are, who sees the information?
Hi, my name is Faisal. Who sees the information that is gathered about customers?
So you're asking me it's under the GDPR thing, yeah, that has changed. That has made things much more difficult. We actually get...
Do you know what GDPR is?
Great. GDPR, isn't it?
What is it?
Heard about it, I don't know.
Gross domestic price.
No. Nothing to do with that.
Wait, man. Let me ask you.
That is business though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not
That
business.
you played it.
Thanks for your guess.
That's
What's
right.
your- what's
Well done.
GDPR mean?
What does GDPR mean?
Like
Oh, you're asking. Oh, go
No,
on.
he's asking Siri.
This should be good.
What is it?
He's googling it now.
No. You must have all heard of this. They must have heard of this. Really?
General Data Protection Regulation.
Magnificent.
Yeah, we heard of that.
You did that with Phil.
Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what does that mean? What does that mean then? Does anyone know what that actually means? Huh?
Protecting the data generally.
Yeah, but what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, no, you're not protecting the data. Because protecting the data, you just put it on a.
The information.
You put it in a disk. Put it in a.
Information was in the data.
Yeah. From whom? To who?
The customer's information, that you're protecting them, so not to
Yeah.
get.
I have no right. I have no right to the information that people give me, unless I have a reason to keep it. So I do not have the right to store your names, addresses, telephone numbers, unless there's a reason for me to have it. If I have no reason to have it, I must destroy it or not use it. Or I must keep it safe in such a way that your information can't get out to someone else. So whenever you give your name, address, telephone number, that person who receives it must protect it. Because there's all the data breaches. The idea is to stop companies losing data that they have on you, your phone companies, I don't know, where else, banks, so that if somebody gets in on cyber hacking, somebody can get into your information and can use it against you. So I have to make sure that that information that I receive is either kept and stored correctly or destroyed or not kept. If I go out and do an assessment on somebody and I don't ever use it, I don't need to keep it, so I can get rid of it. I shouldn't be storing information that I have no right to keep.
We are required to keep information on you for 7 years. That is a requirement.
So,
But once that 7 years is up, that information is confidentially,
Confidential waste.
put in a confidential waste sack
Yeah.
and actually destroyed. But we have to keep it for 7 years.
that's interesting. In business, we have to keep it for 6 because generally speaking, it's on staff. When I'm thinking about staff more than anything else, we keep information for 10, but then we have to keep staff information for 6. The reason we keep it for 6 is because if there's ever an employment tribunal case, it goes back only 6 years. So it doesn't go back beyond 6. So that's what we have to do.
So going back to the question, who sees the information that is gathered about customers? Who has
Yeah.
the access rights to see that?
Every one of my staff would have access to it if it was pertinent to the job that they're doing. If we had to have a discussion about it, then I would include the managers, definitely. But I wouldn't include other people's relatives. I wouldn't include anybody externally outside. It would have to be specific to the position that they were in regards to the person we're going to look after. I would use other people's knowledge to say, what do you think? Can we do this? Is it possible to look after this person? It would mean this.
What about doctors?
Yeah, sharing. Yes, it's a good point because you forget about sharing. There is permission to share. There is a document where we can do that, and there is sharing. But often now, if I get social workers are sending me information about somebody, and they want to know, they will actually black out the person's name, or they'll turn around and say a person with this. They won't give us the name of the person, which is interesting because in my role as the honorary life president of the village care group, we're basically a bunch of nosy parkers, and we want to go around and find people that may be struggling in the village. And if they're struggling in the village, other volunteers may step in and try and help them if we can. Our ability to get to that information is diminishing greatly because of this social isolation policy, which is now developed out of GDPR, out of the fact that we all have phones, we all don't need to go shopping in supermarkets, we can all do our supermarket shopping with a scanner. We actually never need to talk to anyone. So that is a big problem for us in terms of trying to help and look after people. It's something that you as younger people might need to think about, social exclusion. It is becoming the norm. And I know you talk on phones and all the social media, but without social interaction and talking to each other, which is why you talk to each other so much in corridors and when you meet up, you want to tell everybody everything, the spirit dies. And that happens truly with older people as well. And when their spirit dies, they don't eat. And you don't eat, you haven't got the nutrition in order to survive. You may have a fall, you like to break something. If you break something, depression occurs, you die. So you need to think very strongly about social links. If you end up in a situation, I think, where the only people that are coming to see you are people you paid for walking through your door, you're in big trouble. You don't want to be there. You want to get out as fast as you can. This is more older people I'm thinking about. But it's something to bear in mind.
Thank you. That's that one covered. Next one, please.
My name's Holly.
Hello, Holly.
Hello. How is this information used to help the business in the future?
Yeah.
So just looking about how you maybe categorise things and helps you make decisions when you gather all that information together.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look back, only this morning we were looking back and thinking about, because somebody came in, we're about to put a new floor down, so I was doing some work this morning, and the girl came in who knew the house many years ago when she was a child living in the village, and she's picking her mum up, taking her to the hospital, and I was pointing out to her, there's a door here, there's a chimney here, there's another door over there. Buildings change, people change, the amount of changes in legislation, the amount of knowledge that you gain to do the job better grows as well. So all those factors hopefully make you better at what you do, the longer you do it. The hardest part is you have the experience. I think this was what Tony Blair said. When you first come into government, you have all the enthusiasm and no experience. When you leave government, you have all the experience and no enthusiasm, because it just takes it out of you as you constantly fight every single battle which is put in front of you. And in what I do, I constantly have challenges putting up. Recently we had somebody who left us and had to go to a nursing home on the 14th of December. We've only recently got a new person in on the 8th of January. So I was losing income, and when you only have 7 bedrooms, that's a colossal income. We had 3 members of staff leave us. Not one lady her mother was sick. Another lady had already pre-planned to leave us back in November, and we had another lady leave. And as a result of that, we ended up suddenly finding we had to recruit 2 more members of staff to cover them. So we had those people there as well, and we also had 2 staff we were initiating in a mentoring scheme. So my staff wages shot up. So my percentage of my staff wages to turnover was colossal. My turnover on that month was around 24,000. I've just written out staff wages for 19,000 during that month. So you can see my profit margin was virtually none. Luckily the new lady's come in, that's an extra 4,000. And we're just about to go into next month, which will pick it up again. It was a 5-week month as well. I pay monthly, but I get paid every 4 weeks. So it's been a real squeeze this month.
In terms of this question,
Oh.
I think what they're after
Oh.
is about, for example, when the colleges gather data on all their students, they know from what area they're coming from, sort of gives them a generalised, are you able to forecast anything or use your data for anything like that?
It's very hard. There is a company called Lang and Booson, and they do reports on the industry and the state of the industry. Unfortunately, they cost somewhere about £1,500 to get one, far too much. So what I have to do is I have to look at their press releases and gather information about the state of the industry. I'm also a member of the Hampshire Care Association, and they also get a feel. At this moment in time, there are 364 vacancies in Hampshire from the Hampshire Care Association bed vacancy website. So from that you get a feel as to how the industry is performing and what's happening. Since I've been in business, there have been 3 care homes in Romsey where I am that have closed. There's only 3 left. So there has been a diminishing of care homes. And the chances are there will be further pressures. The government doesn't like residential care homes. They like the idea of people staying at home as long as possible, because with social isolation, as I said earlier, they're likely to die quicker. I said that. So it is a policy, because the governments cannot afford the money that it would cost for them to come and stay with me and be looked after well. Because it costs you, taxpayers, eventually, too much money to look after the elderly people that we've got. So one of the ways of assisting is to actually give people what they want, which is to stay at home, if they stay at home longer, their chance of survival diminish, and so the cost to the country actually goes down. But that is a personal opinion from information that I have gathered that I feel happens to people when you say you can have what you want. So that's just a personal opinion. But it may be true. I'll let you decide.
Next question, please.
Where are we?
Hi, my name is Sebastian. How do you know if the business performance has improved?
How do I know?
My business performance has improved. How do you know if the business performance has improved?
Yeah, I guess those figures I gave you just now are a great way of actually seeing how we're doing. We have annual accounts, and from that you can deem how things are going and how monetarily things are going. Because I'm such a small home, I'm just one vacancy, 2 vacancies. You know, I can tell then how things are going. We're quite amazing in terms of almost as soon as we get a vacancy, somebody wants to come in. So those kind of things are good. But there are those massive external pressures I said just now, in terms of stopping people entering care. Whenever you go to hospital, whenever you go to the doctors, the first port of call is, how do we put a package together to enable you to stay at home? They don't think, how do we put a package together that is best for you? The idea is, firstly, what do we do? Family members also consider very much that predominantly the people of that generation own their own house, 70% of them. So all the value is in the house. So the longer you can keep the person staying in the house, the more likelihood is the inheritance will come down to you as well. So there is a massive push to try and help people stay at home, so to give people that inheritance. Because the government also knows that people that receive the inheritance spend the inheritance. And that also helps the population, that also helps the monetary systems expand and grow. So, how else do I know? I think with the home...
Staff feedback? Do you get feedback from staff?
I'm tending to think externally.
I heard that, let's say like I was like 50, 60 and I got ill and I went to a care home. Apparently the care home can, if like the person hasn't got like the money or something to pay for it, but a family member's paying for it, that person's not paying, then that gives you lot the entitlement to take the home.
You lot?
Like the care home.
Yeah, good. That's
that apparently gives them the entitlement to just take the home.
Oh, wow. Usually there is there's annuities you can buy. You can use the equity that's in the house, which means the house has a value, and that value within the house will be taken by a company, and they'll give you the money in a lump sum, or somebody will give you what's called an annuity, which an insurance company will take it, play with the stocks and shares, and try and make you some money so you can use that. Probably the best way would be to actually family members to pay the difference, because a lot of people receive the state pension. They may receive attendance allowance, so there is money coming into that person already. So it's not the whole thing, it's just maybe part of that you have to find. If the family can find it, then they'll retain the inheritance. If not, and the house is of great value, then they may actually allow the capital to just diminish down. If you were 50 and 60 coming into a care home, you'd be in probably a lot of trouble, because I'm 63. So if you were coming in at my age, I don't know how I'd be able to afford it.
But what he was saying was that you could take that person's home.
Yeah, no. You couldn't just. You could make a claim against the person's estate, but you wouldn't be able to just turn around and say that's my home. You wouldn't be able to do that. No, that just wouldn't happen. And hopefully the person has got people representing them. If they haven't got people representing them, usually we would try and find someone to represent them. So, yeah, it would. I've never ever seen that. I've seen the problem where the money goes down to a point where under £23,500, the state come in and join in and say, okay, we'll help you at this point, but we'll only give you this amount. And the care home has to say, well, we'll take that fee and try and get a top up, which usually doesn't happen. Or the person has to maybe go to another home which is going to charge a smaller fee.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, well done,
Have a pen.
What are some of the legislations that Ian's already mentioned? What have we spoken about already? What's GDPR?
GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, yeah.
Thank you. So we've spoken about GDPR. What else have we spoken about?
CQC.
CQC, what's that stand for?
CQC.
Carer, quality, care.
Nearly.
Commission.
Well done.
Care Quality Commission. What else has he mentioned? An act. The Care Act.
2016, I think it was. So
Care Act 2016. So
Look it up.
can we just tell me what the Care Act do, please, Ian?
Oh no. Really?
What the Care... No, sorry, not the Care Act. The CQC, the Care Quality Commission. What do they do yearly?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point. The Care Quality Commission
CTA.
charged me £80, 40 pence per month to not come and see me. I haven't had an inspection since November 2017. The reason being because we are good. Now is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Does anyone think it's an advantage? Put your hand up. Who thinks it's a disadvantage not being inspected? Good. I'm with you. At least two of you thought that. Supposing I'm...
Standards could fall at any time.
No, not fall. I'm only good. I'm not outstanding.
Oh, okay.
So supposing I've been outstanding 1 week after they did the inspection, and we were just incredibly good from then on, nobody sees that. So everyone sees
And you can
good.
get more customers.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, exactly. So it's a disadvantage. Yeah, I'm having to pay £80, 40p, because what happens when it says requires improvement? You know how it goes, requires improvement?
It's like college, yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same. So you have all these stages. So if, on one hand, you don't want inspectors coming and pressuring you on the door, but on the other hand, if you are just always going to try and be outstanding, you want to be judged as being outstanding. But if they don't come for 3 years because you're good, you haven't got a chance of going up.
So they come and inspect the room sizes, the temperature.
Not really.
Anything like that? What are they?
Most of those kind of regulations they accept as being.
Do they warn you when they're coming, or do you?
No, you just turn
They
up.
just turn up.
Yeah.
And what are they looking for?
What are they looking for? Well, they're looking for anything. To be honest, they're looking for greatness as well as difficulties. They'll check on. They'll look at our Facebook page. They'll certainly always do background research on that. Look at our website. They will look at anybody that's made a requirement for a complaint. When you mention complaints, whoever have complaints. If you wrote to CQC anonymously and said this care home is rubbish, you can also all write to the Care Quality Commission and say you now know my home is brilliant because you've heard it, and you all want to tell them that. So anonymously they'll be delighted. If you put your name on it, even better. Those kind of information go towards whether or not we achieve an outstanding or a good. They will go and firstly sit down and spend at least a day, maybe 2 days, talking to the residents within the home. They won't talk to us at all. Then they'll start asking us for information. Can I see your policy on this? Can I see your policy on that? Can I see when you updated it? Can I see your fire regulations? Can I see your escape plan? You all know what the escape plan is for here? You all have an escape plan for getting out of this building?
Out the window. Out the door.
As long as it's a plan, it doesn't matter.
Out the door.
You should, as students, one of the things we do to the staff, the very first thing any staff member is told is how to get out of the building. The very first thing they get told. Because if you go anywhere, and this was brought home to me, was when the student backpackers went to Thailand, and they went into a hostel where they thought was safe, and they stayed in a room, and every one of them died in a fire, because the fire escape was chain locked. So the first thing you should always do when you go into any building is know how to get out. You should never ever go into a building not knowing how you get out, because there could be a fire. So, something to think about.
Think
So we do
outside
that.
the box.
Pardon?
Think outside the box.
You just have it in the back of your mind. You know, okay, everyone's being very welcoming, and they want you to come in.
Eventually you're going to go out the door.
Yeah. You want the first thing you want to know is how am I going to get out?
Okay, thank you. When it comes to you writing up about that point, excuse me, you do have to mention GDPR, health and safety, food hygiene, CQC, the Care Act, and give some examples, please. Okay. Who's got this one?
Hiya.
Again,
Why is it important to provide excellent customer service?
I think it goes back to that Mercedes, Apple, and point.
A jo, that's American.
Znaczy pytania też samo mógł powiedzieć wszystko.
Carry on.
She wants to go. So she's just asked you a question, then she wants to go to the toilet.
Do you want me to come with you? I am trained. So the first thing you. What was the question?
Okay. Sorry, you might be able to answer this question for Ian. So why is it important that he provides excellent customer service? Why?
So you can get the customers back.
But what if they die?
Huh?
But the elderly people, and they might die in his home. So if they die, they're not going to come back unless they're a ghost, right? But what else do you mean? Who else could come back?
The family.
Yeah.
And we do. We have one chap whose mother stayed with us quite a few years ago, and he comes and does. He comes in at 5. He's an ex-builder. He gets about 5 in the morning. At 7:30, he comes in, or 7 o'clock. He comes into my home, and he stays until 10 because he can't stop getting up early in the morning. But he still comes and potters around doing a few jobs, and the two of us were doing a few jobs this morning. So he is still part of us, and it's funny. One of the ladies that's just come, it's his goddaughter's mother-in-law. So there is that family connection. So it's massively beneficial.
Do you have a relationship with those old people that eventually die?
That's why we need to add it.
That's not offensive.
What sort of relationship
No.
are you talking about?
That's offensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, there's amazing stuff that happens. Usually, we end up quite often. I mean, generally speaking, if you want to do this job, 36 years, there's numerous people that come in your way and die, and it would just destroy you if you got too close. You've got to be like half a pace behind. You've got to be professional. You've got to do the job well, which is usually quite easy for me until I get to the church and I hear them say something nice about my home, and then it's sort of I need the tissues, because it's really humbling when somebody recognises what you've done well, and that happens frequently. And we're really proud of that when that gets called out. So you end up having a very close relationship with the person, but just slightly behind. You can have very close relationships with the family members because they need massive amounts of support and guidance. They've never done this before. They've never experienced somebody with a dementia. They never experienced somebody dying. So to them, this is the first time. So they need our support and understanding so they can meet and manage the situation that they're in. And by giving them that, we get potentially more customers. So it's a win-win situation. It's a big benefit.
Win-win.
Well, we win in terms of we've had a resident, and we may get another resident from them coming to us because of the fact they know us and passing on that they think we're good.
Okay.
You can work all this through with anything. You work this out, selling glasses, selling pens, selling T-shirts. You can work all this. It's the same principle, really. You want repeat customers. If you own a restaurant business, you want people to come back and eat from you again. If you give them a really bad service, there's no way you're going back. No way. You just won't go.
How many people do you have in the home?
7 residents, 20 staff. Far too many.
Big building.
But the staff are
Safe building, yeah, good building.
daytime staff, nighttime staff.
Yeah, nighttime,
Part-time,
daytime, yeah.
yeah.
Weekends, yeah. So there's lots of different stuff. We don't work 12-hour shifts either. The staff do not do 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You end up with some places will do that because that does nothing for you as people. It doesn't value you as individuals. It's just using you because it's easier to focus on 2 people, one day, one night. You wear the person out after 4 or 5 days, and the person has got nothing left to give. So we work 8 till 5 shifts, 1 till 9 shifts, and then we have somebody coming 5 till 9, or somebody coming in 8 till 1. So we try and value the staff members by not killing them off, by just literally wearing them out.
Okay.
They wear T-shirts as well. They wear polo shirts, sweatshirts. So they have
Branding.
and they can have their own. They can have their own colours. They have shirts with all stuff down the sleeves, and so we try and make them look as nice as possible. Because again, they go out and become like my sandwich boys. So people see them wearing the kit, which is good. Well, I think it's good.
Okay. Right. Who's got the last question, please?
Hooray! That's a good question. What was it again? So I can hear it?
My name is Mia Rahmani. Why is it important to adhere with current legislation and regulations?
Can you say that again? What was your name again?
My name is Milad.
Milad. Go on then. What was the
Why
question?
is it important to adhere with current
Legislation.
and regulations?
What's in her?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. If you don't adhere to them, you just don't have a business. I mean, I don't see there's any. I don't need to expand on that, really.
What are the consequences then? Give an example of the if
Yeah.
you don't provide.
Yeah, if I don't do what I should do when I should do it, you are given warnings. You're given, like you become requires inadequate. You give, like we said before, you'd end up with a 1 or a 0 in terms of food hygiene. So you're given an opportunity to improve. And if you don't improve, they just turn around and say, okay, you've had your chance, goodbye, and they will close you down. CQC have powers to close immediately. If things are really bad, they can close you immediately. They can take people out of the home straight away. So those powers have only recently come in, but it's quite right that they should be able to do that. People shouldn't be in a situation where they're at risk.
If they decide to shut you down immediately, what happens to the residents in the home?
Yeah, they would be transferred to other homes in the area.
Straight away?
Yeah, I've seen that happen. Yeah, not seen it, but I've been aware of it. And it's quite right, really. I mean, it's just not right, is it? It's just not right. If people are not adhering to the regulations, they're not delivering care in the right way. Staffing is usually the biggest problem. Staffing and how you run your staff and how well looked after the staff are. That's the biggest problem. Because the staff are your business. The staff do what you want them to do. And if they do it well, you end up with a very good business. And at the moment, and all the time that I'm away, I never worry about what's happening behind me. Because I know the staff are good. And I know they'll do a good job. Which is why I can spend time going around moving clay and moving huge piles of dirt and with my digger, sitting on my digger and playing and doing nice things for neighbours and people I like and helping people.
Enjoy life.
Hey,
Enjoy life.
I tell you, one of the greatest pleasures I get is sitting on my digger. I can't tell you.
The digger. He lent it to me. We took a big hole in our garden. Can you just have a look through? Can you just spend a moment? Can you just actually give him a round of applause? Thank you. And thank you to you for introducing yourself so well and asking the questions.
Yeah, well done.
Right. What I want you to do now.